Okay, who can talk at the Poukai? You have your Rārangi Haukainga speakers. They know who they're going to put up. When we go as an advancing party, there will be an announcement at the gate, the waharo, before everybody goes on to the marae. Rahui Papa usually does that, or someone senior from that ilk of the Pai of Tainui. Who can speak? Those people representing Tainui waka, they were told who can speak and who will speak. But first is the first speaker from outside, from the advancing side, will be Te Tangata Wawahi Kōrero. The first speaker will stand up to open up the speech making from the advancing side. The last speaker will be from Tainui. Following that first speaker, the motu will follow that speaker thereafter. And the rap to whakahoki mai te mauri to the advancing party will be a person from Tainui. All right? That's how it rolls. The next thing is that when we look at the waiata kinaki, it's important that when you know who's going to stand up and speak, for your waiata support groups to be behind you. But if you're not there, you're a mile away from your group that's going to support you, I ask that you speakers walk down to the corner to stand with your rōpū tautoko, so that they don't have to stand in front of the front row. So bear in mind that when you stand up to speak, if you're a mile away from your support group for your waiata kinaki, walk down to them. You go down to them, hei whakaruru au ia koe, ne? All right? And you should understand, it's all about respect. It's all about your rōpū not wanting to stand in the front line of the men. So make them all comfortable by you walking down to that corner where they'll stand. Now that's that. The history of Mangatangi Poukai. Te puea, after she finished school, she enjoyed her middle-class lifestyle. She went to the pāke. By 1911, she was besotted by her uncle, King Mahuta. He begged her to come back. He told her, hoki mai, come back to look after your people. When she became a bit tautoi, he didn't ask her, he told her, you come back and you look after your people. It was like Te Puea's mother, Te Huia. Te Huia said to Te Puea, you die amongst your people. So anyway, Te Puea, in her early 30s, she returned to Mangatāwhiri. She returned for the purpose of being instructed by her uncle King Mahuta at the time. By 1912, he had passed away. By 1930, the smallpox had advanced into Mangatāwhiri, and during that time, Te Puea was at Mangatangi Marae. She had decided that Ngāti Tamo, who gave the 300 acres of land for the kingitanga, she had decided Mangatangi Marae was going to be her tuara marae, one of her principal maraes that would provide her with that support. She stayed there. She nursed the infirm through 1913 and 1918, the Spanish flu. Then Te Puea sent the able-bodied men and women down to the river to create a temporary settlement. The name of the settlement was named after the saying of Te Puea. It's a saying. It's not a pine tree. The saying is Te Paina. This is good for now. And listen, everybody out there, stop putting a lot of BS out there about that name. The name came from a saying that Te Puea said, "E pai tēnei mō tēnei wā. He wāhi pai, he pai nei, he pai nā. This is good for now." Not pine trees. Why would Te Puea want to name her settlement after pine trees when the pāke impacted and stole 1.2 million acres of land? Why? You tell me that. There's no way. She'd turn over and over. She'd do flip side, upside down in her grave if she heard you people saying it's named after pine trees. For heaven's sakes. Anyway, the name Te Paina is a saying. And she said, Te Paina tēnei wāhi mo naine. It's good for now. It was only temporary. Her backbone marae was Mangatangi. Mangatangi te tuakana of all of Tamoho. And that's what it is. You got Mangatangi ki Tamoho ki Mangatangi. Then he went on a little trip around the place. He ended up at Poukai, and that marae is known as Ngā Hauewha. The hapu is Tamoho. Then he went up to the estuary up in Manukau. And that hapu is named Tamoho, Taina. All right? And so, then he went to Mangatangi. So let's get the whakapapa right that the tuakana of all these Tamoho is Mangatangi. And on Saturday will be the commemoration of Te Puea Herangi's anniversary. Now, Te Puea, she strove to fundraise at Te Paina, going across to Te Raungawari, the land that was gifted to the kingitanga by us, by Tamoho tuakana. Not Tamoho in the middle, not Tamoho Taina at Pātapaki. Paka, Tamoho tuakana, senior line. So anyway, she was able to get her able-bodied men and women to go and harvest flax and dig for gum. It was from that she sold all that. The flax went to Foxton to make rope. The gum was sold for resin. And it came to pass that Te Puea had enough money to fulfill the promise that she had made the owner of the land, she in Ngaruahi, promise to hold the land. She came back with the money to buy the land and found that the land had been on-sold to another owner. And selling the land to somebody else, the price of £110 went up to £1,110. You see how greedy the Pākehā was? It was all about killing our people to take the land. Then they commercialised on the land. And the promise that Te Puea had from the first land owner was broken because he got hungry for money. Then a bootmaker decided to add £1,000 to it. And the price of the land became £1,110. Some people say £150. Whatever it was, anyway. But my research, my quarter from Tupuna says 110. I have Rewi Graham and Motu Katipa on tape, and wānanga that happened here in 2000, I got them on record saying exactly that. They were 14 years old when they came to this marae. Motu Katipa was. He came from Te Awa Marae. So people, I know what I'm talking about. And when we look at coming back to Tūrangawawa in 1921, Te Puea was able to buy the land because Maniapoto gave her the £1,000. That £1,000 was left over from the fundraising for the Parliament House that stands at Ngaruawa here that was opened in 1919, Tūrangawawa House. It was one of the dreams that Tāwhia wanted. And King Mahuta, his son, established the kaupapa. Tāwhia came around from Maunga Kama to Rukumoana to establish the Kohaunui. By then, the Mahuta had picked up the kaupapa and he initiated the building of the Parliament House at Tūrangawawa. His son, Te Rata Mahuta, endorsed it by having 46 of the kaumā to validate it, the kaupapa that was written up by Dr. Maharai Winiata of Ngaitarangi, Arohamai of Ranginui, Iwi, Ranginui Hapu of Tauranga Moana. And so the kingitanga history was written up in 1858 to 1958, 100 years. Mangatangi, Tamaho from Mangatangi came up the river in 1921 with Te Puea. They established this area called Tūrangawawa. Tūrangawawa, which was 3 blocks of lands. The blocks of lands, Newcastle blocks 166, 167, 168. Te Puea, she had her people walking the roads for 5 years, fundraising, begging for money. That's what she reduced herself to fundraise to build this marae. Today, the Māori Women's Welfare League holds the beginning of their kaupapa here. And when we look at what Te Puea left, the legacy she left, because of her tuara, Tamaho. Tamaho commemorates that passing of Te Puea. Te Puea lived here. And she passed away just a mile up the road at the farm at the estate. She passed away on the 12th of October, right in the middle of the Māori Women's Welfare League conference. And so why did it happen like that? Because the Māori king, King Heitia, decided that's how it was going to happen. He wanted, and he had a reason for it. Our late king. You know, I spoke about him yesterday. And you hear it going across Tainui radio. And the links are there for you want to listen to the PowerPoint speech notes that I gave over yesterday at the opening of the Māori Women's Welfare League conference here at Tūrangawaewae. Is that it clearly states and defines Te Pue's commitment to her people, to the country, and to the world. So Tamaho was her backbone. Today, Tamaho is still a backbone, but there are a lot of the uri that's come from the first, and we did a research way back in 1966. There were 500 families that affiliated to the first groups that came here to Tūrangawaewae. There's Ngāti Tamaho from those families, the 70 families on that barge that arrived down here, just down here by Nana Mama's house. 70 families came. Today, there is over 3,000 beneficiaries that whakapapa to Tūrangawaewae through those 500 families. A lot of people. So we look at this, the relationship of Tamaho to this marae Tūrangawaewae is that Te Pue, she married to Poukai Katipa. She married the Poukai, the love of her life. And it's with the association, the affiliation of our people of Ngāti Amaru, Ngāti Pou, and especially Tamaho. That from Tamaho has come all these lines, these whakapapa that link into Tūrangawaewae. If it were not for Tamaho, is that Te Pue would not have that backbone, and she would not have been able to create this place that was once a rubbish dump. Because when she bought the place, the Pākehā found out, so they started dumping their rubbish here. That's the racial prejudice that these Pākehās had against our people. Our people who own the land, and yet these new settlers come here and they call us dirty, filthy Māoris. And yet, when we look at the kingitanga today, economy, the kingitanga has empowered this region to be able to build the economy of this country. Every time we hold a coronation or an event here in Ngaruawa here, all the businesses in Ngaruawa, they benefit from it. Every year they're stacking their shelves. Every year they know the kingitanga is going to come here. Every year they know Māori is going to spend their money because we like to eat. Every year the coronation happens. And the same thing. Thousands of people converge on Tūrangawaewae with the tangi of the king, with the coronation and the tangi of the king. Over 120,000 people attended both of those events. The coronation itself, we look at that. 30,000. We look at the tangi of the king. Over 95,000 people arrived here to pay homage to the king. Now you imagine, for every one of those people that arrive, they spent $10 to go over town to buy a kai. You do the sums on that one. So people, we're going back into the conference now. I just want to say to you, no mai ki te Poukai, ki Mangatangi on Saturday, and please, you're going to have to be directed by everybody in the vests, the orange and green vests, where to park. There will be shuttle services, and also at Mangatangi, the first thing that will happen will be the opening of a whare, a new whare. Once that process is finished, then we will go into the Poukai, into the process of the Poukai, from the karakia after the opening of the whare, to the mihi, ngā waiata, and then finally, the kai haakari. After that will be ngā take, will be the discussion of matters pertaining to the kingitanga, to our iwi. No mai, hare mai, this is Auntie Mamae from Tūrangawaewae saying, kia matara tātou, please, hare mai, ki te whakanui, te rā maumaharatanga o te pue herangi, i Mangatangi, Poukai, Atarahoroi, ka tū mai nei. Tainui Live, 95.4 FM.